Hayley Jensen is one of Australia's most powerful live performers, which I know because I have seen her play live, and she first came to public attention on Australian Idol. Since then, she has released 3 studio albums and has twice been nominated for the Golden Guitar for Female Artist of the Year. She has a brand new single called Bring It On, and if you need a song to motivate you to do just about anything, this is the one. Hi, Hayley.
Woo-hoo, I love the sound of that. Hello.
It is. It's really, yeah. I'm actually going to start with live performance because I've seen, as I said, I've seen you play live and you really command a room, and that's not just with your voice, but with your stage presence. So I'm wondering, from the start, did you have stage presence, or did you feel you had stage presence, or has it been something that you've had to learn?
Oh my gosh, I definitely had to learn it.
Right.
I definitely had to learn it. And I recall being a little, as a child, people asking me to come sing, Mum, come out and sing for family or what have you. And I would make everybody turn around. I would hide in another room and just sing through the little slit of the door or out the window while everybody had to turn around and not look at me because I didn't want them to see me, heaven forbid. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but it was, I definitely had to develop it. And even if I sort of look at a lot of my videos and things through Australian Idol, I had a lot of feedback the whole time, oh, we're just not sure you know how to move on stage, and we're just not convinced about that side of. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm thinking I'm giving the best performance ever, but it must have all just been kind of trapped in my mind. And so I think what switched it for me was I actually became part of this kind of alt rock band at one point. It's a strange diversion from very contemporary music at that time to, oh yeah, I'll join a band. That sounds like fun. I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to do at the time. And anyway, they were like, we're like a rock band, right? And I'm like, they were these quite young, like younger than me boys, right? And I'm like, yeah, I like rock music, like the Cranberries and stuff. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not what we're like talking about. We're like, you need to like be able to get your foot on that fold back and throw your head back and forth and, really get into it and run back and forth on the stage. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And so I just studied bands like Paramore and, all of these really high energy, Pink, I guess, and another artist that I thought were able to kind of, as you say, command the stage, bring energy. And, I'm no longer thrashing my head back and forth on the stage, but it's certainly having to do that. I guess it was a challenge for me to a personal challenge, really, being part of that, to say, well, come on, can you do it? So I guess, I just learned from that to be comfortable in my body and on the stage. And I would touch the stage when I used to step onto it, to like connect with it so that I didn't feel I was having this sort of out of body experience. I was grounded. And that's really where I think, and connecting with the lyrics of the songs. Obviously, when, you write your own songs, generally they're coming from a personal experience. So if you allow yourself to be vulnerable with people and share that true and full experience of what that felt like and communicate that, through your voice and your performance, then that's, I think, it's a more authentic way of delivering it, and it connects with people and everybody feels something and there's energy in the room. And I could talk about this I could literally talk about this for the entire interview. I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah, and I find it fascinating because I'm very fond of saying people love to hear about work, and this is stagecraft, I think, can be really underrated, because when someone comes out like you and you make it look natural. So what you've just talked about is how you had to learn to do it. You're in a rock band, you studied other artists. So for a period of time, it was like you're in the chrysalis forming yourself. And I imagine it was this conscious process when you're on stage, which can be a distraction from singing because you're thinking, how am I moving, until you get to the point where it's natural. But it does take a lot of work to look really natural on stage, unless you're holding an instrument, sure, like you're behind your instrument, but you're not usually.
And you know what? I even hate having a microphone stand in front of me, because for me, anything that kind of disconnects me from the people that are there to enjoy the show or experience, the song and the experience of a song. I feel like anything between me and them is like it's a barrier, and it actually holds me right back. I really don't like having fold back wedges in front of me. I have my in-ears. I'd much prefer to be able to get right out in amongst everybody. And yeah, I could talk about it forever. But I think, it's an important part of performing, and something that, yeah, as you say, it could be underrated, because people just think, oh, I've got a good voice and I've got a good song and here's my band and I'm ready to go, right? And it's like, well, there's lots of layers that you can add to what you bring. So,
well, in becoming an entertainer, which I think is what you're talking about, it's that bringing that full-bodied experience to the audience, and I imagine for you at a certain point, once it started to feel a bit more natural, it became more rewarding for you as a performer.
Absolutely. Where you take that risk, you take that chance and think, well, you know what? Oh, like, what's the worst that could happen here? And, I remember thinking, everyone wants you to succeed. You're going out there with all those little one lines in your head, like everyone there wants you to do a really good job. They've all come here to see you. So don't hold back. And there's all, as I say, all those little kind of tidbits that you remind yourself. And, I remember on Idol, Mark Holden used to say to me all the time, I can see you thinking about what you're singing, like I can see it in your eyes that you're thinking about what you're doing. And so it became a bit of a like, I've got a bit of paranoid about it for quite a while, of like, am I really that disconnected from the audience, like in my own little bubble of trying to have it all together. And then, so, yeah, I think it really comes down to trusting yourself. Everybody's got something unique and different and individual. And I remember when I came off the show and I met with this wonderful manager who I sent this massive long essay to about, she was managing, some of the biggest artists in the country at the time, what have you. And, I wonder if you'd be interested in managing me, if I send this big email, and very professional like and everything. And she's sort of come back going, let's meet for a coffee. And one of the first things she said was, what is your unique thing that you bring? I'll give the example. She was talking about Sarah Blasco at the time and how she performs in a certain way, and that connects with people, and and it's interesting and unique. And what is it that you do that's unique and interesting and different? And it really made me go away, because I didn't really know how to answer that question. I was just like, I don't know, I just like to sing, and just people have said that they like it when I do sing. So it was like, yeah, go in, do some work. So, but it was great that she met with me, and I'll never forget that conversation. And so it's, it's harsh, but it's the reality of, if you want to do it for a living, it's sort of, you have to challenge yourself.
And it started you probably on the trajectory you've been on. But it's interesting that as a kid, you wanted barriers between you and anyone who was listening, and now you don't like them at all. But to me, describing what you felt like as a child, sort of like I suppose the burden in a way of having a gift, having a talent. Like you obviously did as a child, you had this voice, people wanted to hear you sing, but as a kid, you can't really understand what that means.
Yeah, totally. I thought, oh, this is so awkward. Why do I have to have this thing that people want me to do? Like, just let me blend into the background. It was, nobody else is asking anyone else to sing. Why do I have to sing? Where other kids might have, loved the attention, or could, loved standing out or what have you. I wasn't really that. It's quite a shy little thing. I mean, I was determined, but I didn't like being the center of attention so much. So
but then what you were
no, I'm joking.
What you were saying about connecting to the lyrics of the song also There's something in that about wanting to serve the song and in turn wanting to serve the audience that's in front of you that I think helps you become the performer you are. It's like there's this connection going on the whole way through, you to the song to the audience, and then looping around, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it was interesting, you know, during lockdowns and everything, when I had to record all of my vocals for for Breakin Hearts. And then again, I've done it for this album just on my own. Here is my microphone behind me, like my suit's there. That's literally a cupboard door where I stand into that little nook. It's got padding on the insides of it. And I put this up around it. And, but it gave me that freedom when I wasn't in a studio with a producer sitting like my family used to when I was, even though I can get up on a stage and perform and all that sort of stuff. But I guess having that freedom to try different things and experience a song in different ways. And, you know, just when I was recording the vocals, outside of all the conversations that you have when you're creating a song and all of the energy and fuel that goes into that, when you then have to record it, and it's like, this is the version of the song. Yeah. Every note, every intention that you put behind every note and pause and everything else, that's going to be there forever, and that's going to be people's experience of that song. So, you know, you want to make sure you make the right choices. And so you've got, you know, I think having that space to experiment with, you know, different takes on a verse, different takes on a chorus, on a line, on a word, on a end of a word, on a vowel, on a, you know, kind of also helps you to sort of tease some of that stuff out before you hit the stage, and then go, I know what I want to convey here, because I've tried to convey it in so many different ways. And so I've landed on, you know, and it changes over time too. There's songs from the last album and the album before that I now perform that I kind of perform in a completely different way too, because I've lived with them for a while, and it's, you know, it's kind of nice too when you get to reinvent things, but with different intention.
Yeah, and this also goes to the fact that your voice, you know, has this power. Obviously, you can project beautifully, but there's also nuance within it. And to me, what you've just described about going back and forth with things, trying them out, being with the song for a while, that's where those nuances come in. And I'm wondering if you start from the point of connection with the lyrics, or if you almost inhabit a character, even if the character is you, which just seems a little metatextual, but if the song is about you, whether actually there's an aspect of you that you channel when you're recording that song.
Totally. Absolutely. You have to sometimes, particularly if you've written a song about something that happened a while ago, but you can recall how that made you feel. You have to kind of conjure it up. And that can also be, you know, it's pretty emotional particularly when you've written about something that's, you know, a traumatic experience, or you know, whenever I sing the song that I wrote for my beautiful dad behind me in the picture here, you know, you're reconnecting with that lyric, with that story again. And you know, I guess even when I'm singing songs that aren't mine, you have to sort of, as you say, like embody that sort of character for that moment in time. And it's, you know, it's interesting when I keep harping back to it now, because I haven't really thought about it for a long time. But when I was first auditioning for Idol and I sang the song Angel, I had brought on a coach to help me with sort of through some of the auditioning. And, you know, obviously I was quite nervous performing and things. And she was actually a theatre coach. And so she was like an acting coach. So, you know, and she was sort of using method acting techniques and stuff, you know, like think of the saddest thing you've ever had happen in your life. And then that's what you need to feel when you're singing that song or what have you. And I remember just being like, oh no, just cry the whole time through the song. But she's like, well then cry. She's like, cry. I'm like, ah! It was very confronting for somebody that didn't want to show their emotions at that point in time. But I think again, some of that advice is kind of, not that I'm saying everybody should, but if you can get close enough to the edge of that emotion where you can feel the sting of it, or the burn, or the pain, or the happiness, or the, that you actually in that moment expressing, because a song is 3 minutes, capturing an emotion. It's like, or a range of emotions, but yeah, you got that time to kind of communicate it. Otherwise that moment's passed, and people could be listening to anything. So
yeah, then you come back to the technique of things, because of course if you're going to cry while you're singing, that's going to affect your voice, because it's not easy to sing while you cry and have a lot of emotion. So I guess it's, as you said, coming to the edge of it and then being able to control what's coming out.
Yes, yeah. And and sometimes you can, and sometimes you go too far, and then it's too far. Sometimes you have one too many champagnes before you get on stage, and before you know it, you're back there in that moment, and you can't control what you've let yourself go there. I think because I've practiced it so many times, I just do it by default. But then if you let yourself go that little bit too far, then but you know what, sometimes those moments as well are the ones, not necessarily the ones when you've had too many champagnes on stage, but where you do go there, and it's not the perfect vocal performance, are often the ones where people connect and remember, and right. If you're really feeling that, and you're really, I think empathy, if anybody has any ounce of it, people feel what you're feeling. So yeah, it's a strange thing. I've never spoken about this stuff. I mean, I speak to it with people that I kind of coach and that sort of stuff, but yeah, it's interesting to talk about it in an interview. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, as I said, the work is always fascinating, and it's partly I ask the questions because, as I said earlier, it can look easy from the outside. It can look effortless. It can look like you just got up and opened your mouth and out came this amazing voice and all that kind of stuff. But there is so much work that goes into it so that the audience can have that experience. But you talked about songs that connect to experiences that you've had, which is a lovely segue to the new single, which is called Bring It On. And it is a real anthem about standing up for yourself and not taking things lying down. Now, I imagine that these are things you've had to do a bit in the music industry.
Yeah, certainly in the industry, and in life. I mean, we sort of wrote this song. I didn't want to just write another sort of, heartbreak, been done bad kind of song. I wanted to write something that had a empowering message behind it, that at the end of it, it left somebody going, I've been through this experience, but I'm stronger because of it. And so, take that and bring it on, because everything that you throw at me, I'm just going to use as fuel and get stronger and fight harder and prove you wrong, or prove myself right, or whatever, however you want to spin it. But, I was in a relationship. I was in a marriage when I was going through Idol, and my husband at the time didn't want me to be part of it at all. He didn't want me to sing. He was kind of really overwhelmed by the whole experience. I mean, this was very full on, but and when I came off, it was like, no, I just want you to get a real job. I don't like you being out there doing this. It's not what I want for our lives. And I was sort of 21, kind of come off the biggest, most crazy experience of my life, thinking, wow, the world is my oyster. Look at this opportunity I've just been given to get out there, and I've got to work so hard, and I've got to try and push. And there was just somebody on the other side pulling me back and down, and making me doubt myself. And when people feel insecure, and they tend to become very manipulative, and there's all that, well, you didn't get through, you didn't win, so what do you think, you're never going to make it, like, well, it's just a pipe dream, all that kind of stuff that went on for years and years until I finally got the courage. And it's bloody hard to pull yourself out of a situation like that. And people go, why don't you just get out of it? Well, I'm a loyal person. I committed. So I didn't want to renege on that commitment without really knowing that it was the right thing to do. But at the end, you know, your own peace of mind and happiness in life, you have to guard yourself. And I know that, and I knew then that I didn't really choose to do this. It kind of chose me. If I, you know, I didn't choose it because I was hiding behind all this, you know, like, please don't make me do it. But there was something in me that was just going, come on, just do it, just do it, just do it. There's something you've got. This is your this is what I'm going to leave behind in the world, you know, now, like at the end of the day, this is my contribution. And, you know, I don't have kids. This is my music, is my baby and my message to the world. So it's, you know, it's really important to me. And I think coming out of that situation, having to fight to, you know, for what I believed in, and having somebody kind of try to keep tearing me down and pulling me back, and you know, and then of course the music industry, you just face this kind of stuff all the time. The rejection, it's, you know, you get told no way more times than you get told yes. And you know, you get legs up and opportunities and things way less than, you know, they don't come just land in your lap. You've got to work for them and fight for them, and then, you know, maybe you'll get it. You're like, so you've got to really believe in and be passionate about what you do. And I think, yeah, this song was sort of born out of that collective. I don't know, all my life I've been a fighter.
Well, and the situations you're describing take a lot of energy to manage. That's the other thing. Like when you're in a relationship with someone who's trying to stop you doing something you want to do, even if it's not a big life thing like career, every time that's happening, you've got to butt back against it, expend energy. If it's happening in the work itself, it's expending energy. All of that is taking time and energy away from what you actually want to do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you sort of end up going down wiggly, windy paths, trying to skirt around, and you know, I certainly did that, ended up doing all sorts of, you know, things with music and just different things that I think, what was I doing there, or why did I end up there, or it doesn't really matter now, because it's all part of the journey, and everything you experience. I'm a wise old lady now, 40. Everything you experience teaches you something. And, you know, it's not until you have accumulated a few of these experiences as you're kind of plodding along that you go, oh, you know, if I could have, you know, maybe if I knew where I wanted to be now, like, then maybe I would have gone a different way, but I might not have wanted to be there if I had gone that way or whatever. So life's a funny thing. Well, and then you put those experiences into a song like this one, which in turn might help someone else, because as I said at the top, it's a very motivating song, and you're never going to know the number of people it motivates, right? Like there'll be the occasional person who might tell you, but that's the I guess the cyclical nature of what you do. And it's also part of why art is so important, because you do take your experiences, put them into art, put them into the world. Yeah. That's, you know, ultimately that's, you know, we share our own experiences. It's my, you know, it's part, you know, therapy for me, going through the process of writing about it and analyzing the experiences in that sense. You know, particularly when you're trying to craft it into a song, it's like, oh, do we want to delve into this aspect of it, or are we sticking to this aspect of it? But this particular song, you know, I really did want it to be one that just gave people that get up and fight, you know, whatever whether they're at work and their boss is giving them, or their, you know, partner is not supporting them, or, you know, someone in their family is treating them like, you know, just, you got one life, it's over before you know. But it, like, you never know when. That's right. Well, that's right. Yeah. And you know, I just think you can. We're never going to be able to go back and press rewind or go back and relive something. Oh, oops!
did that wrong. I'll just go back and try that again. No. So you may as well give it everything you've got. And yeah, just that's what I try to do. And that's what I hope this song kind of gives people, that that push in the direction to do that for themselves as well.
Yeah, I think it does. And you wrote it with Joni Delorier, and you have written with her before. I think it was Karma was the song you wrote with her. Did you click the first time you wrote together?
Yeah, we did. But I mean, we would just sit there and talk for like, we go, we're meant to be writing a song. So she's an amazing person, and, you know, a real empath, sort of. We're similar characters, I think. So yeah, when we get started on something, you know, and always when you start a songwriting session, you start talking about inevitably something that's happened during the day or the week or whatever, and then it turns into a well, we both feel that, and then next minute you kind of, let's write a song about it. So I think that week we'd probably both had some things happen, and we were, right, got to get this out. Let's channel all of the negative things that have happened in our lives. And but yeah, I think she gets me as a songwriter and as a, you know, vocalist as well. The type of music that I want to write, you know, I really love that kind of edge of bluesy, southerny, country rock sort of sound, you know, and I like incorporating those different sort of sounds and melodies into it, because I feel, I don't know, I like listening to that. So I made a decision at the beginning of the last record that I was only going to make music that I liked listening to, you know, because it can be easy to fall into the trap of, you know, what's popular and what's, you know, what else is out there, and trying to follow trends and that sort of thing. And for me, it's just so boring. Like, I couldn't think of anything worse than just writing another song like the song before, like every other song out there, you know. And so I'm really passionate about making sure that every song has its own little place and really represents me as an artist, both through the melody and the way that it's delivered, but also the production and all that sort of stuff. I like, and I love working with Troy as well, the producer, because he's like, you know, send me your favorite 5 songs at the moment, you know, and it's like, oh, cool, okay, oh, I think I feel where you're at the moment, let's, you know, incorporate some of that. And so yeah, it's a great feeling to have that sort of team and people around you that you can sort of work with and work off, you know, bounce off.
And you can put this team together because you are an independent artist. And I imagine there are risks and rewards inherent in that. It's, you know, you're out there on your own. But one of the things that must help you with this is that, as I discovered for the first time, you have 2 degrees, one in economics and one in management. So that must be a set of skills that's quite useful.
It does help. It does help. And I have a number of years, mainly because of said ex-partner, where I went off and studied, went off and worked in a consulting, one of the top 5 global consulting firms, doing big system transformations and change management programs and things like that, for organizations, you know, because I had that degree, and then so project management and all that sort of stuff, which has really helped me with what I do with music, because there's just so many things that need to happen all the time. I know that my supporters understand all of the things that go in. I try to share as much behind the scenes as possible, but, you know, before the first song's out, you're thinking about the next one, and it's overlapping timeframes, and it can be, you know, if you don't sort of have it all mapped out, you can just trip over yourself, and before you know it, you've missed the deadline for this, and you know, everything's sort of, it's a shame because you don't give everything the opportunity that it could have to be as successful as it could be. So it's, you know, I live in spreadsheets and and Google Docs and project plans and Asana and like it's, you know, it's not as glamorous as it feels to spend most of the day project managing my, you know, releases, but I'm so glad that I have that experience doing it. And you know, my first album I released independently as well. So I learned a lot of things through that experience of, you know, after the fact, oh, you're meant to register it with, you're meant to have, you know, signed it up. Oh, you're meant to have, how come it didn't end up in this chart? Oh, because you had to have submitted it to, all right. So now all these little things are in a timeline and it's all pre-release checklist and all this stuff that, you know, just helps keep it all on track. But yeah, there's a lot of little things in the background to just keep an eye on. But and then now of course music is all the marketing and advertising and digital marketing and all that side of things as well. So I'm now studying marketing and communications as well. So I've done some as part of my degrees and other training, but I'm doing another formal qualification in that too, because you know, it's good to have skills.
Look, it is, but I'm thinking you could create a software product like self-management for artists out of and put it in all your spreadsheets and everything. Because I'm listening, going, oh, she uses Asana. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. If only I had things to, you know, people to assign these tasks to others than myself. Damn it! I think that is to myself again.
Now, one task you're going to have to assign yourself is getting to Gympie for the muster.
Yeah.
I'm presuming you've played the muster before.
I've never played the Gympie muster.
How is that possible?
Oh, it's just so I'm just cannot wait to play it. I'm in the crowbar stage on the Sunday. I don't know what time yet, so I'm still waiting to hear about that. But yeah, I can't wait. This last couple of years has been a big few years of firsts for me. I played Denny last year. I'd never played that before, and then this year Gympie. So I'm, you know, slowly ticking through the, you know, the big festivals of country music, and yeah. I can't, there's just been more and more festivals coming up and coming out, and it's just the best feeling to be playing on those stages and to country music fans, and, you know, people come up to you at the end and I've never heard of you before, but you were amazing, or, you know, and you make these sort of life connections with people that, I played Charters Towers Country Music Festival a couple of weeks ago, and it was just, the line was going out and so many people have said, oh, we didn't really know who you were. That's nice.
That's why it's good to play festivals, so you're exposed to new people.
I need to get a bit of marketing presence up in North Queensland. But it was just so, you know, so many new supporters out of that are really passionate about what else can we do? We need to get you back here. And, you know, that's kind of beautiful, as opposed to playing somewhere where everyone's just sort of walking past or, you know,
blasé about stuff. Yeah. And I think there was also, am I right in thinking, a cattle dog festival of some kind? Is it called the Cattle Dog Festival?
It's the Cattle Dog. It's the Great Cattle Dog Muster.
Oh, the Cattle Dog Muster. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in Muswellbrook. So that'll be amazing. I played it last year as well. It's beautiful. I mean, all these beautiful little puppy dogs around, and, you know, our system's louder than them. So don't worry. Got a nice little backing choir of howling dogs around the place. But no, that's, you know, that's the beauty, I think, of country music, is you get to play in these unusual locations and festivals and things that have to do with, you know, country people and country things. So yeah, I love that, because I love animals. And so they're like, Hayley, it's time to get on stage. I'm like, one more cuddle.
Yeah, I bet. Well, and a place where there will be no dogs will be Cruising Country, which you are doing as well at the end of the year. Have you done that one before?
I haven't. It's another first.
There we go.
I know. I saw the announcement go out for the first lineup announcement, and I was like, I need to find out how I can get on this. I'm like, I'd love to be on it, and managed to find who was booking it. And so I'm really excited to be part of part of cruising country. I've spoken to Amber Lawrence, who's done it many, many times, and she says that it is right up my alley. So I'm really excited about that. Don't know exactly what she means. She's like, days of just sipping champagne by the pool, and then and the odd gig.
Yeah. I know, it looks great. It's and New Caledonia this year, just so, in case anyone's interested in going. But it sounds like before that you may have an album out, or you'll be on the way to having an album out.
It'll be next year, I think, that we get the album happening. I know it feels like ages away, but still writing, still recording, sifting through songs that I've written and sort of pulling together. So, and I just want to make sure that it's, again, because I'm releasing this on my own this time, it has to be exactly what I want to do. So that's what I'm working on. I've got a whole bunch I've got the next one single ready and the next few songs ready to go as well. But I'm just keeping a bit of an open mind about where it might go at this point. So yes. And in between there, I'm playing at the Lights on the Hill festival it's the Convoy and Memorial Convoy up in Gatton in Queensland, which is the trucking memorial convoy. And the Roadhammers are coming over from Canada to play at it. So, which is going to be amazing. So I'll get to sing Four Boots live with Clayton Bellamy. Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of diverse experiences coming up. In the meantime, people can listen to Bring It On and get as motivated as I have been by the song. Hayley, it's been so lovely to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
You too. Thank you so much for having me on your great podcast again. I love watching all of your segments and hearing the artists talk about, you do really very compelling interviews. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've had a lot of fun tonight. Thanks.
Me too. Thanks, Hayley.